In my previous life, because of my kindness, I was humiliated by Xu Huan and locked away in a brothel. Clinging to life. In this life, I resolutely took her name and returned to the general's mansion, where I was granted the title of county princess and betrothed to the crown prince. On the day I was granted the title of county princess, she, dressed in rags, shouted that I was the fake heiress and that she was the real one. I looked at her coldly and smiled. Blood ties? Did she really think I had risen to this position because of that? A carriage arrived at the slums of Rizhou City. A couple dressed in luxurious attire stepped out of the carriage, and I sat under a tree to cool off. The noblewoman hadn't even wiped away her tears when she bent down to ask me, "Is there a girl named Xu Huan here? She's about 14 years old." I looked at her in confusion, casually scratching my head and revealing the dark birthmark on my right arm, shaped like a plum blossom. The noblewoman saw the birthmark on my hand and approached me as if she had seen a ray of hope. "Huaner, do you remember your parents? You were lost when you were young. It's all your parents' fault for not taking care of you." I looked at them with innocent eyes, repeating the words I had practiced countless times in my mind. I only remember going to the Lantern Festival when I was little. There were so many people. I couldn't find my parents. My voice trembled with tears, causing them to feel a pang of sorrow as they embraced me. "Huaner, you're my daughter. You've suffered so much over the years." I pushed the woman away and hid behind a tree, watching the couple warily. "How dare you claim I'm your daughter? Someone deceived me into searching for my parents, intending to sell me. If you're truly my parents, where's the token? Do you have anything from my childhood?" Hearing my words, the couple's faces betrayed their deep sorrow. The woman pulled a long life lock from her sleeve and handed it to me. I looked at the locket in astonishment, took it, and examined it carefully. Tears welled up in my eyes. I remember this. This locket was given to me by my grandmother. I lost it. I looked at them tearfully. "Are you really my parents?" They embraced me tightly. I knew they believed me. "My name is Ah Man. I am an orphan. Orphans have no name or surname." The name Ah Man was given to me by the old woman who found me, hoping that my life would be complete. Unfortunately, fate had other plans for me. I met Xu Huan, the person who ruined my life. I resembled Xu Huan in appearance, but I was more beautiful than her. We lived in the same slum, so people naturally compared us. From that moment on, Xu Huan harbored a deep hatred for me. Later, Xu Huan's parents came to take her back. They initially mistook me for her, but I corrected them, and they found the real Xu Huan. Xu Huan pretended to be friendly, offering to take me to her family and make me her personal maid, promising me a good life. I thought she was grateful for helping her parents find her, but little did I know that this was the beginning of my tragic life. At first, it was just minor punishments, but later she began to slander me, beat me, and make me kneel all night. Eventually, she had me beaten with a rod 80 times in the freezing cold and thrown into a woodshed without any medical treatment. After I finally recovered from my injuries, she sent people to ruin my reputation, and I was caught in the act and sold to a brothel. The brothel madam claimed that all the humiliation and abuse I endured were arranged by Xu Huan, who paid her to do so. She told me that even if I died, I must not hate her, as she dared not disobey the future princess's orders. Fortunately, fortune smiled upon me, and I was reborn. Since heaven has given me this chance, I will repay every single person who has wronged me, with interest. After waking up, I spent all my savings to get a tattoo of the same birthmark as Xu Huan. Since I resemble her in any way, why not take her place and become the legitimate daughter of the general's mansion and the crown prince's official wife? I returned to the general's mansion, but this time as the legitimate daughter of the general's mansion. Upon returning to the general's mansion, I was arranged to study alongside my sisters in the household. Music, chess, calligraphy, painting, flower arrangement, tea ceremony, etiquette, and needlework. These things I could only admire from afar in my previous life are now within my grasp. Xu Lady had a son and a daughter. The eldest son, Xu Xiu, oversees the capital's defenses, while Xu Huan, the younger daughter, was exiled. Her son was busy with official duties, and her daughter was nowhere to be found. She was left alone in the mansion, so she focused on managing the household, and as a result, the concubines and children in the mansion all got along well. However, Xu Huan was arrogant and, upon returning home, abused her status as the legitimate daughter to lord over everyone, exhausting all the sympathy people had for her from her childhood when she was lost and suffered, leaving only annoyance. I, however, took the initiative to seek guidance. I couldn't write, so I asked my eldest sister to teach me step by step. I couldn't play the zither, so I asked my second sister to teach me step by step. My tea wasn't well brewed, so I went to my fourth sister when I embroidered mandarin ducks instead of swans. I went to my fifth sister. Gradually, the pity everyone once felt for me turned into admiration, and I fully integrated into the Xu family, earning the satisfaction of Xu's parents. Even my stern and unyielding eldest brother began to show me tenderness and favoritism, often going out of his way to find me fine paper, ink, brushes, and embroidery thread. Later, Mrs. Xu began taking me to various banquets and gatherings hosted by noble families in the court. Everyone knew I had once been abandoned and expected me to be crude and vulgar, but I behaved flawlessly by Mrs. Xu's side, dignified and polite, gradually earning their admiration. On the day of the 60th birthday celebration for the Dowager Lady of the Hengyang Marquis, the Xu family was also invited. That day, I dressed up carefully because I knew the crown prince was also among the guests. In my previous life, Xu Huan had met the crown prince Gu Mingfan at this birthday banquet and fell deeply in love at first sight. Upon returning home, she pleaded with her father to arrange a marriage between them, but was scolded for being absurd. She then resorted to crying, causing a scene, and even attempting suicide, and finally secured the opportunity to become the crown princess of Gu Mingfan. At that time, I was already locked in the basement of a brothel, barely clinging to life. I gathered my thoughts, tied on the perfume pouch I had carefully prepared, and went to the Hengyang Marquis mansion. After paying my respects to the old lady, I made an excuse to use the restroom and sneaked into the back garden of the Hengyang Marquis mansion. Because in my previous life, Xu Huan had gotten lost in the garden and encountered Gu Mingfan. By the carp pond, Gu Mingfan was indeed standing there watching the fish. I gently moved some flowers, catching his attention. "Have you also lost your way, young master?" I approached him, treating him as an ordinary young master attending the banquet. Showing no fear, Gu Mingfan was taken aback by my question and took a moment to realize I hadn't recognized him as the crown prince. He, too, had been staring at me for a while without recognizing who I was. "Who are you?" "I am the third young miss of General Xu's mansion. I got separated from my maidservant earlier and have lost my way. Do you know the way back to the front hall? I've been gone too long, and my mother will be worried." Gu Mingfan hesitated, then lowered his head and caught the scent of my perfume. "Do you smell anything?" I untied the perfume pouch and held it in my palm for Gu Mingfan to see. "This is a perfume pouch I made myself. Does it smell nice?" Gu Mingfan seemed dazed for a moment, then excitedly took a step toward me. "Miss Xu, would you be willing to give this perfume pouch to me?" I immediately stepped back, tucked the pouch away, and pretended to be startled and refused. A pouch is a personal item for women. How can I just give it away? "If you need it, I'll come back and get it myself." As I was about to leave, Gu Mingfan grabbed my arm. I pushed his hand away and stepped back even further. Gu Mingfan realized his behavior was inappropriate and immediately apologized. Third miss. Please don't blame me. I was being rude. It's just that the scent of your perfume pouch is similar to the scent of the perfume pouch my mother used to wear. My mother has passed away. And when I suddenly smelled the scent today, I was momentarily confused. I put the perfume pouch away and looked at him with a forgiving expression. In that case, take me to the front hall, and I'll write down the ingredients for you. Gu Mingfan was overjoyed, bowing to me in gratitude as the crown prince, and happily led the way. I followed behind, a faint smile playing on my lips. This spice formula was obtained by Xu Huan in my previous life, who went to great lengths to find the late empress's personal maid and paid her 100 taels of gold for it. Now I was using it to pay a favor to Gu Mingfan. Even if Xu Huan returned, she wouldn't dare dream of becoming the crown prince's consort. Gu Mingfan led me to the front hall, and everyone immediately knelt down to pay their respects. I was so startled that I froze in place. When Gu Mingfan turned to look at me, my legs gave way, and I knelt down to pay my respects. Greetings to the crown prince. This humble maiden has been rude and offended your highness. Please forgive me. Ignorance is no crime. Third miss. Please rise. Gu Mingfan bent down to help me up. But I hesitated, then suddenly snapped out of it, quickly stepping back and climbing to my feet, hiding behind Su's mother. Gu Mingfan seemed to be rejected for the first time, standing there with a slightly embarrassed expression, looking at me as if he wanted to ask for the recipe for the perfume. But I hid behind Su's mother and dared not meet his gaze, so he could only give up. On the way home, I asked Su's mother with a kind expression, "Mother, did I cause trouble for the family?" I didn't recognize the crown prince and even let him lead the way for me. Su's mother comforted me. The crown prince is a generous person, he won't hold such things against you. And mother, it seems like the crown prince is quite interested in you. Mother, don't joke like that. I pretended to be angry, but inside I was overjoyed. I wanted the position of crown princess, so I certainly wouldn't announce it to the entire world like Xu Huan did. The capital was full of rules and regulations. One wrong step could make one a laughingstock. The Xu family valued their reputation, and the imperial family valued theirs even more. A marriage forced by circumstances could never compare to the golden match I had created through skillful use of emotions and public opinion. To win the people's hearts, I used the excuse of praying for my parents' blessings and distributing porridge and silver at the eastern city gate on the 5th day of every month. On the 5th day of the 8th month, in my previous life, the crown prince returned from inspecting military affairs and was attacked by remnants of the previous dynasty's Tiandao society. The area where the porridge stall was set up, where the homeless gathered, was where these people were hiding. Having mingled among the refugees for years, I could easily distinguish between genuine refugees and those hiding among them. Therefore, as soon as the distribution began, I alerted the guards to those I deemed suspicious. When the crown prince entered through the east gate and saw my soup stall, he dismounted and approached. "Miss Susan, it's been a while." I handed the soup ladle to the maid and stepped forward to respond, glancing sideways and noticing that someone in the crowd was indeed moving suspiciously. I pulled out the spice list I had copied earlier from my sleeve. I've never had the chance to give the spice list to His Highness. I never expected to meet him here today. It's fine. Just as Gu Mingfan was about to take the list, a group of people in the crowd drew their swords and charged toward Gu Mingfan. My guards, having been warned earlier, reacted quickly and deflected the rebels' long swords. In an instant, the rebels, my guards, and the prince's personal bodyguards were in chaos, with refugees fleeing in all directions. I hurriedly pulled Gu Mingfan to safety. However, we were ambushed by a rebel hiding in the distance. I saw him about to strike Gu Mingfan with his sword. I leaped forward and took the blow on my back. the blade cutting deeply into my flesh. Gu Mingfan took the opportunity to wrap his arms around my waist and step back. The rebel's second strike missed. And before he could raise his third, he was struck down by a sword. Your Highness. I arrived too late to save you. Please forgive me. It was Su Shuyu's voice. But I was in too much pain to do anything but gasp for breath in Gu Mingfan's arms. No need for formalities. Your younger sister was severely injured saving me. Please take the third young lady back to the mansion immediately. I will send imperial physicians to treat her at once. I barely remembered how I returned to the general's mansion. But I knew that everything I had arranged had been made public. My first encounter with the Hengyang prince's mansion, the crown prince's special treatment, and the peril at the city gates where a beauty saved me, all had already become the talk of the capital. And I knew that this story was not just a tale told in the capital. The imperial edict granting me the title of Princess of Ning'an for saving the crown prince arrived on the day of the Mid-Autumn Festival. Neighbors and passers-by saw the imperial messengers enter the general's mansion in a grand procession, only to be escorted back by the entire household with great respect. Just as everyone was about to return home to celebrate, a disheveled woman rushed to the gate of the general's mansion, shouting that she was the true legitimate daughter of the Xu family. I am Xu Huan, father and mother. Look at me. I am Xu Huan. This woman is an impostor. Look at my birthmark. Upon hearing the mention of the birthmark, Lady Xu rushed down to investigate. Seeing the birthmark on my arm that was identical to hers, she froze in shock. Upon closer inspection, she noticed that my face bore a striking resemblance to Xu Huan's, and she grew even more panicked. The crowd also looked at me with confusion. However, I remained calm and composed, walking over to Xu's father and whispering to him, Father, no matter who this woman is, causing such a commotion at the front gate will tarnish the reputation of the general's mansion. We should bring her inside and investigate privately. Xu's father looked at the crowd of onlookers and agreed. Lady, bring her inside. Xu Huan was cleaned up and brought to the main hall, where the family members took their seats. Xu Huan, seeing my elegant and noble demeanor, as if I were born into a noble family, grew jealous and rushed toward me, trying to tear at my clothes. You worthless woman. You stole my identity. You stole my parents. I am the real Xu Huan. But I wasn't going to just stand there and take it. Before she could reach me, I stood up and hid behind Xu Xiuyu. Xu Huan collided with my chair, making a loud thud, causing the concubines and illegitimate children to giggle secretly. Quiet down. Xu's father was furious at the scene, having grown accustomed to my obedience and grace, even if he was completely certain that the disheveled woman before him was his daughter. He was still furious. Xu Huan climbed off the chair and knelt down on the spot, sobbing, Father, I am your true daughter. Look at the birthmark on my arm. She is just a lowly born slut. Her name is Ah Man, not Xu Huan. Xu Huan pointed at Xu's mother. Mother, look. Don't you recognize your own daughter? Look how much we resemble each other. When it came to appearance, Xu Huan naturally resembled her parents more. But after spending so much time together, how could Xu's parents not favor me, their daughter, a little more? After exchanging glances, Xu's mother came up with an idea. Why don't we do a blood test to prove our relationship? At these words, Xu Huan's eyes lit up, and she glared at me triumphantly. But I hid behind Xu Xiuyu, and her provocation was all seen by Xu Xiuyu. Though I didn't know what Xu Xiuyu was thinking, I knew he was a man with a plan and the future head of the Xu family, so he naturally had to uphold the family's honor. Father, please think carefully. Huan has just been named county princess. That's right. I had just received imperial favor, and the injuries I sustained while saving the crown prince hadn't even healed yet. If it were discovered now that I wasn't a member of the Xu family, Wouldn't that be pushing the imperial favor onto someone else's family? The two people in the main seats were at a loss for what to do. This young lady resembles Huaner in appearance and has the same birthmark. It's fate. Why don't father and mother take her in as an adopted daughter? Have her enter the ancestral hall and make her a daughter of our family? Xu Xiuyu made the decision, and Su's father and mother couldn't think of a better solution. So they had no choice but to agree. But Xu Huan was absolutely unwilling. Why? I'm the real Xu Huan. I'm my parents' biological daughter. She's the fake one. Why is the biological daughter being made an adopted daughter? This isn't fair. Though no one said anything, I knew what they were thinking. But because of the imperial favor bestowed upon me, they couldn't bear to give up this honor to another family. So they all remained silent. In the main hall, I knelt before Su's father and mother, not breaking down in tears, but silently shedding tears. Father and mother, do you no longer want Huaner? If father and mother both think Huaner isn't your daughter, then let Huaner go. It's all my fault for looking so much like the real Huaner and having the same birthmark. That year in Ruzhou City, I thought I'd spend my entire life alone and helpless, without memories or family, and might end up starving to death on the streets or being sold into a brothel. But then I never expected my mother to come and talk to me. The moment I saw her, I felt a sense of familiarity. I thought she was my real parents come to find me. I tried to suppress my emotions but couldn't help but sob. Su's mother stood up and hugged me, unable to hold back her tears. My dear daughter, how could I ever abandon you? You are my daughter. You must not go anywhere. I hugged her tightly and glanced up to see Su's father secretly wiping away tears. I couldn't make them fully believe I was their biological daughter, but I could make them favor me as their daughter. After leaving the main house, I encountered Xu Xiuyu standing on the long corridor. He was as tall and handsome as a tree in the wind, not inferior to Gu Mingfan in the slightest. Are you waiting for me, older brother? Xu Xiuyu turned to look at me but said nothing. You don't really think I'm your real sister, do you? After all, looks can't be faked. I stared back at him calmly, without a trace of panic. I didn't know what Xu Xiuyu was thinking as he looked at me, but before he left, he only said one sentence. You are the legitimate daughter of the Xu family. No one can shake your position. I understood exactly what he meant. He didn't acknowledge me as his sister, but he acknowledged my position as the legitimate daughter, meaning I must fulfill the duties and responsibilities of a legitimate daughter. He could guarantee the stability of my status, but he couldn't guarantee the affection of siblings. That was fine by me. I didn't care about any emotions. Having been reborn, I only wanted revenge and to achieve my goals. The Xu family had two Xu Huan. The Xu family had gained an adopted daughter named Xu Yi. The adopted daughter was the real Xu Huan. These three events spread like wildfire throughout the capital, even causing the Xu family father and son to be looked at differently when they went to court for patrol duty. I sat in the deep courtyard, arranging flowers, feeling content. Back when Xu Huan abused me, none of them, as the head of the family, dared to intervene. Now that they're facing some public backlash, it's nothing more than a drop in the bucket. Get out of my way. Xu Huan, no. It should be Xu Yi. She suddenly appeared beside me, kicked me off the chair, grabbed the flowers I was holding, and threw them all over the floor. You worthless woman. Still pretending here? You should be thrown into a brothel to be ridden by 1,000 men and slept with by 10,000. Xu Yi had grown up in the red light district, and all the insults he knew were things he had heard others say. I was thrown to the ground, my knees bruised, but I didn't feel angry. The more he raged, the closer he was to his own downfall. If my sister wants to sit here, she can take my place. I'll move. I was helped by a maid to the back and sat in the seat originally prepared for Sui. Sui sat down on my seat with a smug expression, looking down on the other sisters with an air of superiority, acting like a petty person who had achieved something. I felt a surge of joy in my heart. How nice. You're still as foolish as ever. Soon, the instructor arrived. We rose to greet her, only to see that the seat meant for the legitimate daughter was occupied by an outsider. The noblewoman who had just been granted the title of Lady of Ning'an County was pushed to the corner. Furious. This is the upbringing of the Xu family? To treat a county lady so harshly? How dare you? Everyone knelt down, except for me and Sui. I stood because, as a county princess, I was not required to kneel before palace officials. As for Sui, she stood solely because she had become overly arrogant. That lowly woman is not of the Xu family's bloodline. Keeping her in the mansion is already an act of kindness on my part. You, a mere servant, dare to speak out of turn? Do you think I won't have my father have you beaten out of the mansion? The face of the aunt who taught us was flushed with anger. And her hand, which held a fan, trembled uncontrollably as she pointed at Sui. Yet she still maintained her composure. Fine. Bring someone here. Call the lady. Let's see if she'll grant Miss Sue's wish and drive the slave out of the house. Seeing that the situation was escalating, my older sister turned to me for help, and my younger sister tugged at my skirt, urging me to go calm the aunt down. If the mistress were to be summoned to judge the matter, everyone would suffer. Seeing that the messenger had already left, I stepped forward to calm the aunt. Auntie, you've seen it all in the palace. Don't quarrel with a child. The younger sister has been raised without proper guidance and may speak without thinking. With your careful guidance in the future, she will surely become a proper lady of the household. Please do not be angry. I eagerly offered her a cup of tea, smiling ingratiatingly, and her anger finally subsided somewhat. But Sui heard my words and flew into a rage, kicking me in the waist. The tea spilled onto my hands and my aunt's skirt. Before I could get up, she kicked me again. You worthless woman. How dare you say I have no manners? I'll kick you to death. Kick you to death. Seeing this, the other sisters rushed over to pull Sui away. Two sisters shielded me in their arms, angrily scolding. Sui, how dare you disrespect your elders? Two younger sisters who looked delicate also clung tightly to Sui, their personal maids. Seeing this, dared not move, rushing to find the mistress or the concubine. Sui, however, continued to charge at us like a mad dog about to break free, snarling, I am the legitimate daughter. I am Xu Huan. I am the county princess. How dare you? I clung to my eldest sister's embrace, crying in pain. The wound Xu Huan had kicked open earlier stung sharply on my back. Sister, why be so harsh? After you arrived, I didn't even know if I was truly of the Xu family. I thought I should compensate you more. So everything in your courtyard is the same as mine. And today I even gave you my position. Auntie is a noblewoman in the palace with a prestigious status. My younger sister spoke disrespectfully, but I thought that with my status as the county princess, Auntie would give me some face. I truly didn't mean to speak ill of my younger sister. I cried bitterly, and the blood on my back seeped out, staining the ground red. Oh my God! Blood! My second sister saw the blood-soaked back and cried out in shock. At that moment, Mrs. Xu hurried over. As she passed by, she saw me crying in my eldest sister's arms, clutching my wound. Mother, third sister's wound has reopened. Second sister said urgently. Quick! Call the imperial physician. I hurriedly stopped her, enduring the pain and trying to dissuade her. Mother, if the imperial physician comes now, he will definitely ask why I am injured. If this matter is spread around, it will damage the reputation of the Xu family's women. Huaner will just rest in her room for a couple of days. Mother, don't worry about it. Xu's mother couldn't hide her pain and relief. She stroked my face and had a maid send me back. I staggered to my feet, looked at Xu, who was glaring at me with hatred, and continued to persuade her. Please don't blame my younger sister too much. It must be my fault for not doing something right, which is why she's not satisfied. As soon as I finished speaking, Xu became agitated again, and harsh words filled the air. Seeing that the mistress's expression grew worse yet she showed no restraint, she finally slapped Xu across the face with a loud smack. Xu's face bore the imprint of her own mother's palm, and she finally fell silent. I shook my head in frustration, then was escorted back to my courtyard by the maidservant. The mother and daughter had not yet grown close before their hearts drifted apart. I felt a sense of relief. Later, the maid reported that Xu had been punished with family discipline and made to kneel in the ancestral hall. The mistress also gave the tutor aunt a large sum of silver, instructing her not to mention today's events. But how could paper contain fire? Especially when I intended to spread the news? Within 2 days, rumors spread throughout the capital that Xu, the adopted daughter of the Xu family, was arrogant and cruel, beating the county princess and defying her superiors. But somehow, as the rumors spread, her wounds were reopened became Xu beat me so badly I couldn't take care of myself. As the public outcry grew, the general's mansion, which had been tightly shut, had no choice but to send the mistress and the children to the Marquis of Yuan's polo match while the Xu family was in the midst of the scandal. Xu's mother even took me around specifically so that everyone could see that I was unharmed and in good health. Due to the rumors, Xu's reputation was completely ruined, and no one was willing to associate with her. She could only sit alone on the stage, seething with anger, glaring at me as I mingled with the other noblewomen and their daughters. The more at ease I appeared, the more she resented me. However, I didn't expect Gu Mingfan to be at the polo match today. A single glance from afar told me he had come for me. I lowered my head, pretending to avoid him, and walked around to the back of the field. Gu Mingfan immediately followed. All of this was seen by Xu, who had been watching me the entire time. She was overjoyed, as if she had finally found something to use against me. I walked slowly, making it easy for Gu Mingfan to catch up. He approached with a smile, but I gave him a distant bow and took 2 steps back. "Third miss. Please come in. Since the attack at the city gates, I have been busy clearing out the bandits and have not had the chance to come and thank you. I also heard that you were injured at the mansion. Your Highness, please keep your distance from this humble maiden. My lineage is unclear, and I am subject to criticism. If you associate too closely with me, it will tarnish your reputation." I maintained my timid demeanor, with tears welling up in my eyes, threatening to spill over. "I know you have been wronged. That is why I went to great lengths to get the Xu family to open their doors and bring you out. I just wanted to tell you that whether or not you are a member of the Xu family, you are my savior, and you have the honor of being the county princess." I was somewhat surprised. So the rumors spreading outside were actually spread by Gu Mingfan. This man was more interesting than I had originally imagined. He also cared about me more than I had imagined. Sure enough, with this debt of saving my life, he would treat me differently. "Thank you for reminding me, Your Highness. I will not give up on myself. Your Highness, please go ahead. If someone sees us together, there will be gossip." Gu Mingfan seemed to have something else to say, but after hesitating a few times, he decided against it and left for the court before me. By the time I reached the corner, only Xu remained, frozen in place, captivated by Gu Mingfan. "Xu Huan, having fun?" Xu jumped in surprise. I gave her a mocking smile. And when she realized it was me, she returned to her usual defiant expression. Just wait and see. One day, I'll make everyone see your true hypocritical self. I casually ran my fingers through my hair, my tone mocking. All right. Then you better hurry up. The crown prince has his eye on me. If I become the crown princess one day, you won't stand a chance. The position of crown princess is mine. You, a lowly creature who crawled out of some muddy ditch, dare to think of marrying the crown prince? Dream on. Sui shoved me hard and stormed off angrily. I stared at her receding back and suddenly felt pity for her stupidity. She wasn't fighting me for power or status, she was just fighting for pride. Compared to her previous life, she was incredibly kind now. Unfortunately, I am no longer a kind person. Revenge is the only true justice. After returning to the mansion, Sui, as I had expected, began begging her parents to arrange a marriage between her and Gu Mingfan, setting aside her status as an adopted daughter. Even considering the current feelings her parents had for her, they would never grant such a ridiculous request. Unable to get what she wanted, Sui began starving herself and threatening to hang herself to force her parents' compliance. Upon hearing this, Xu Huan had her bound in cloth and declared she would only be released when she had regained her senses. As the county princess, I naturally did not send any gossiping servants to watch over her. Nor did I use them to reveal that Gu Mingfan would be at the 1000 Buddha temple on the 8th day of the 9th month to perform a ritual for the late empress. I certainly wouldn't let them know that a daughter from a certain family had married into a prominent family because she was pregnant before marriage and married for the sake of the child. But sure enough, once this news reached Suyi's ears, she grew quiet. She stopped demanding a marriage and stopped threatening to kill herself. She even said she wanted to go to the 1000 Buddha temple to burn incense and pray for her parents. I took the opportunity of paying respects at the princess's mansion to ask her to deliver the incense pouch I had made to Gu Mingfan as a token of gratitude for his advice at the polo match. Inside the pouch, besides the herbs, I had left a note, using the recent attack on the city gates as a pretext to warn him to be cautious, to be vigilant about people, objects, food, and incense. On the 8th day of the 9th month, Sui went to the 1000 Buddha temple with great enthusiasm. I said I wanted to go out for a walk and followed him in the direction of the temple, staying at a tea house near the city gate. As dusk approached, I saw Gu Mingfan and his entourage returning from outside the city. Su's family's carriage followed behind but did not return to the Su residence. Instead, it directly entered the Eastern Palace. I timed my return to the general's mansion just as Su's father and son were summoned to the palace. Seeing their solemn expressions, I bowed respectfully and saw them off. Everyone in the general's mansion was restless, but I remained calm and composed. As night fell, I waited for the two men, who looked pale as ghosts. But Sui was nowhere to be seen. Everyone only understood after hearing the Su family father and son explain. It turned out that Sui had been caught red-handed poisoning Gu Mingfan. Recently, the Heavenly Way Society had been causing trouble, and Gu Mingfan suspected Sui of being a spy sent by the Heavenly Way Society to infiltrate the capital. Out of consideration for her status as the Su family's adopted daughter, he could only bring her into the Eastern Palace for a secret trial. The interrogation revealed that Sui had confessed to being a spy, admitting that she had impersonated the Su family's missing daughter to gain trust, and even signed her confession and sealed it with her own blood, which she handed over to Gu Mingfan. Gu Mingfan presented the confession to the emperor, who flew into a rage, berating them for failing to discern the truth and allowing a spy to infiltrate the Su family. He demoted Xu Huan from commander of the patrol corps to deputy commander, and Su's father was also demoted by half a rank. I sighed in relief. Originally, I had only intended for Sui to cause a scene, regardless of her motives. At worst, she would be held accountable, and the reputation of the Su family would suffer as a result. But I never expected such a pleasant surprise. The emperor and the crown prince were eager to use this opportunity to suppress the Xu family. And Xu Yi, as a traitorous rebel, deserved nothing less than death. In the imperial prison, I brought clothes and pastries to visit Xu Yi. She was sitting in the corner, her clothes and hair untidy. But aside from the missing jeweled hairpin, she looked no different from when she was a young lady in the general's mansion. "What are you doing here? Now that I'm in the imperial prison, are you satisfied?" Xu Yi looked at me with the same fearless expression, as if she wasn't afraid of having her head chopped off. I sensed something was off and quickly composed myself, placing the food box and clothes inside. "You collaborated with the crown prince and betrayed your own father and brothers?" Xu Yi casually kicked away the items I had brought, still glaring at me through the bars with that despicable expression. "Not only that, but the crown prince discovered your true identity and will soon abandon you. And what about you? Weren't you trying to reclaim your identity as Xu Huan? Don't you want it anymore?" At this point, Xu Yi's eyes indeed turned murderous. The next moment, she reached out and grabbed my shoulder, pulling me forward. I took the opportunity to pull a golden hairpin from my hair and threw it into the cell. "If it weren't for you, I would have returned to the capital long ago. Just wait. I will definitely kill you." Xu Yi's hands gripped my neck, but I didn't struggle. "The crown prince already knows my background. Why would he need you to report me? Now you're a spy for the Heavenly Way Society and have nothing to do with the Xu family." "I am Xu Huan. The only Xu Huan. Do you really think the crown prince is helping you?" Xu Yi heard my words and clearly froze, loosening her grip. I took the opportunity to step back, afraid she might really choke me to death. "If you escape, you might still have a chance to live. But if you stay locked up in this cage, you'll be like a rat in a sewer." With that, I left. Having grown up in a slum, everyone knew how to pick locks and break into houses. If Xu Yi decided to escape, she would be sending herself to her death. Outside the prison, the crown prince was dismounting his horse. I stood there waiting for him. Earlier, I had lied to Xu Yi, telling her that the crown prince had sent her to prison to help me. It was just a lie I made up to provoke her. As a woman, how could I possibly be more important than state affairs? But as I watched him walk toward me, a faint hope flickered in my heart. When he sentenced Xu Yi, had he even considered me at all? "Greetings to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Why has the third miss come here?" I tried to discern his purpose from Gu Mingfan's expression, but he just looked like a foolish young man with a silly smile. "I came to see Xu Yi. After all, we were once sisters." Saying this, I touched my hairpin and feigned shock. "Oh, my hairpin is missing. It must have fallen in the prison. I will send someone to search for it." Just then, the jailer reported that the lock on Xu Yi's cell had been opened, but she was nowhere to be found. Gu Mingfan immediately led his men inside to search for her, while I stood at the entrance of the dungeon, listening to the sounds of the search, as if I were composing a death march for Xu Yi. Amidst the sounds of the jailer's pursuit, Xu Yi found the entrance to the dungeon but was caught. Xu Yi wielded the golden hairpin in her hand desperately but couldn't break free. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I could clearly see her cursing me as a whore and demanding my death. The jailer thrust his long spear through her body, and she gradually blurred into a pool of blood before my eyes. "That's right. Such a death is fitting for you." Gu Mingfan escorted me back to the Xu family, and I did not refuse. Inside the carriage, the two of us looked at each other. He had something to ask me, but before he could speak, I answered him. "I know that His Highness came to the dungeon to kill Xu Yi. No, it should be the real Xu Huan. But letting her die peacefully is too lenient for her. You dare to speculate on the Emperor's intentions? Don't you fear I'll accuse you of the crime of disrespect? Did I guess wrong? Wasn't it the prince who persuaded Xu Huan to admit to being a spy?" Suppress the Xu family. And come personally to take Xu Huan's life to keep the secret? I am the crown prince, why would I need to come personally to take someone's life? Could it be that the crown prince is here for me? I froze. Gu Mingfan stared at me intently, he had truly come for me. So you know everything, my identity. My intentions towards Xu Huan. Gu Mingfan nodded. It turned out that when we first met at the Hengyang Marquis' mansion, he saw through me and knew that I was not as simple as I appeared. Later, when we met at the city gate, the heavenly way caused trouble, and I risked my life to save him. Because I reacted too quickly, he began to suspect my true identity and sent people to Rizhou to investigate my past before he was satisfied. Later, when I was granted the title of county princess and the truth about the real Xu Huan was revealed, he realized he could use this to pressure the Xu family. He organized a polo tournament to meet me, giving me the confidence to continue disrupting the Xu family. But I never expected that I would directly hand Xu Huan over to him. In return, he spared me any future concerns. Except for Xu Huan. All I could think was, truly, the crown prince is no ordinary man. After all my scheming, though my revenge is served, I have merely become his pawn. Huaner, do you remember your parents? You were lost as a child, it was all your parents' fault for not watching over you properly. If the third young miss were to marry me, there would be no need for such precautions. I smiled but said nothing. The crown prince, of all people, was forcing a marriage. 3 months later, the imperial decree granting the marriage arrived at the general's mansion. The following spring, the daughter of the general of the imperial guard married into the eastern palace, becoming the crown princess.